So for paper 1-2 from the May-June 2025 series, number 1 is saying the diagram shows the graphs of with equations y equals f of x and y equals g of x. Then it goes on to say describe fully a sequence of two transformations which transforms the graph of y equals f of x to the graph of y equals g of x. Then it says make clear the order in which the transformations should be applied. Right? So just by looking at this diagram, I can see that for us to go from f of x to g of x, we have to move downwards. Right? So if I'm looking at this coordinate right here and this one, I can see that there's a difference of 8 units. But if I look at this one and this one, there's a difference of that's 3 and 8, there's a difference of 11 units, right? Which tells me that there has to be something like a stretch, right, that came after moving down, right? So for that now, I'm going to try and get the stretch factor first, then I work backwards. So looking at this line, this one, we can see that it's covering one y box, right? That's one box. But if we look at g of x, is now covering two boxes, right? And this part also from 6 to 3, right? You can see that's 3 boxes. But for this one from -2 to 8, that's 6, right? Meaning that we can see that there's a stretch of factor 2 in the y direction, right? Here it covers 3 boxes, but on g of x is now covering 6 boxes, meaning the y-axis has been stretched by a factor of 2, right? So with that one now, we can be certain that there's a stretch of factor 2, right? So there has been a stretch of factor 2, right? But we're not done yet, right? If we're getting g of x after stretching f of x, after applying two transformations which include a stretch of factor 2, it means we got this -8, this point here with y coordinate -8 after applying a stretch of factor 2, right? So before the stretch, it means this minus this coordinate with these points with y coordinates -8 were at -4, right? Since we're saying there's a stretch of factor 2, we're just dividing the y coordinates of the resulting graph by 2, right? This -2 was it -1, -4 right here would have been at -2, like that. And if we join these, we can see that it looks exactly like f of x, right? So now interpreting this, we will now say f of x moved down from 6 to point -1, which is 7 units. And if we were to confirm with other points as well, we can see that this point right here, from which is a 3, if we look at this point right here to this point, there is also a gap of 7 units, right? Meaning it moved downwards 7 times to get to this, right? Then from there it was stretched by a factor of 2 in the y-axis, right? I hope that was clear, and I think I can check that again. So what we are saying is we can see that for us to go from f of x to g of x, f of x has to go downwards a number of times, but we don't know by how many units it went down. So in trying to get that number of units f of x was brought down, we can get that from this coordinate to this, it's 8 units, right? But it's not the same for this coordinate to this coordinate, right? Meaning that after f of x went down, there was another transformation that was applied, right? And in trying to find that transformation, we saw that this part of f of x covered one y box, but this part on g of x now covered two boxes in the y-axis, and this part as well on f of x covered three boxes, but this one covered 6 boxes, telling us that for sure there was a stretch of vector 2 in the y-axis, right? Now with that in mind, we said we got g of x after applying two transformations, right? But amongst those two transformations is a stretch of vector 2, right? So if we applied a stretch of vector 2 to get g of x alongside another transformation, it means we're saying the first transformation is to get f of x down, right? Which is obviously a translation, but we don't know by how much. But the last one is a stretch of vector 2, right? So we're trying to get the translation after the stretch. So we work backwards from the stretch. So we're saying if we stretched, right, all the y coordinates to get -8, for example, for this one, right, that means it was initially at -4 before the what? Before the stretch, right? And this -2 was at -1, because stretching in the y-axis is like multiplying the graph by 2. So for us to get -2, we would have multiplied a point which is the y coordinate -1 for us to get -2 now. Then 1 with -4 for us to now get -8, right? And for this one with -4, it was at -2 like that. And if we join these points, we can see that it resembles f of x. So that means we moved down f of x to this point, then we applied a stretch in the y-axis of vector 2. And if we count the units from 6 to -1, we can see that it's 7 units. So with that understanding now, we can safely say there was a translation by vector 0 -7, which is -7 units downwards, then followed by a stretch of vector 2 in the y direction, right? Then you get your 4 marks for that. I hope that was clear enough. If there is any part that you need clarity on, please do comment below so that I know and I'll be able to make clarifications.